Hello and welcome back to episode 29 of the Epoch podcast. We got a lot of new information going up into the new patch for 091 coming up in less than a week from today. But to talk about that with us today, we are joined not only by my co-host Dread, but also by our special guest Lizard IRL. So Lizard, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that.
Hello.
We're gonna wait patiently for your camera to get slightly more in focus. There we go.
This has never happened before. Okay.
Uh-oh, spooky. In the meantime, Dread, how are you doing? I haven't talked to you all week, buddy.
I'm doing great. I've been actually playing some LE recently. I've been messing around. I was insanely disappointed with the performance of Crit Fire Warpath. Even though I had almost best in slot gear, it was still a little lackluster, and I'm kind of surprised at that. I'm pretty sure there might be a bug somewhere, but whatever. Then after that, before that, I was playing that Meteor build in the cooldown tournament thing you had. And then now recently I've been playing Lethal Mirage because I tried Dancing Strikes again after the CD and all that. And still not good enough in my opinion, but whatever.
I was so happy to see your video come out. You're talking about the Fire Crit Paladin Warpath build. And God, there's nothing that I like more from a content creator than honesty. You're like the build's sweet, the build's really fun, but given my level of investment, I think that I should be dealing more damage, and I suspect that there's a bug somewhere because I'm not dealing as much damage as I think I should be doing right now. It's like, God, that honesty, so good.
I'm assuming it's probably like the adaptive damage or something in that regard, might be something there. Maybe it's not being converted technically or correctly or whatever, but it kind of I don't know if you saw the gear I had. It was
it looked good.
I had some of the it was funny. I had a comment. It was like, why aren't you using a fire starter's torch instead? I'm like, have you looked at my scepter? What are you talking about? If you don't know, it was the best base at a T4 attack speed sealed, T6 melee crit chance, and T5 melee fire flat. I'm like, yeah, sure. We're totally going to get something better than that anytime soon.
You can find a 4 LP maybe.
Well, the sealed wouldn't go on it. So
that's totally true.
You couldn't even make a fire starter's torch like that. Yeah. That's I was like,
And Lizard, I feel like it's been maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks since I caught up with you. What have you been working on right now?
Not last Epoch.
What are you playing? Tell me.
No, I'm not playing anything. I've been really busy in real life, pretty much. Today I've been digging a wall with one of those drillers. There is video evidence too, but I'm not gonna share it because it's embarrassing. I thought I was way more athletic while I was doing it, and when I actually saw the video of myself, it was like my ego got crushed. I looked like a nun or something. It was horrible.
So, hey, we're still building a garden in our backyard, so we've been doing some manual labor over here too.
Actually, I've been doing something. I worked very hard on a few days on a feedback document that I sent to the.
Is this your dissertation? 100 pages about how to fix last Epoch?
I actually made it really short because obviously there's a week left, and I only included things that I thought
were mandatory,
like numerical stuff or maybe things that maybe help the things without not being more than 5 minutes for a guy, if that makes sense.
Oh, so you're not doing stuff before 1.0. You're doing stuff before 091?
Yeah, before next week. Yeah.
Before the ladder. Woo.
Yeah, of course.
Wow. So listen, I intentionally moved the ladder later in our conversation because I wanted to make sure that we had enough time to talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, it's fine.
But the first couple things, so we've had a week, or I guess a couple days at this point, of Hype Week coming in from EHG, just a couple of different news posts telling us what to expect when May 25th, when it finally gets here with the new patch 091. So the first thing that they teased us with was the new Reaper form. I've been looking forward to this for a while because I've seen the artwork before, but seeing the model in game, Dread's already shaking his head and I'm shocked. What? You don't like it?
No, that's not my point. I have an axe to grind. All right. What is with this giving us Reaper form with like Lich, but like making it so she's dual wielding, even though she can't dual wield? What is this? What? Why? Why do you tease us like this? Why do you do this? Like you could just, I don't know, like like make so she can offhand an axe. I don't know. Like why do you make the Lich dual wield, but then not give us away? Like yeah, just yeah.
I guess it's a little weird. What would you rather her be holding? Just like your normal
Oh,
weapons?
well, no, I would rather Acolyte be able to dual wield, like X's specifically, because of the science. I would be fine with that. Like, do you think it would break the game, Blizzard?
Um. Hmm.
Have an axe in your offhand? You can
I
put the
mean,
sacrifice axe in your offhand. You put Tempest Maw in your
Yeah.
offhand.
I mean, I wouldn't dislike it. I guess it wouldn't be like a huge.
Well, they have this whole
They could definitely try. I
siphoning.
mean, we definitely have things that are more problematic than that. So why
Yeah.
not? You know.
Well, I mean, anything to make
There's
Argus-
bigger issues, sure.
You know, I
anything
mean,
to
you
make
can wear
Argus
an
better,
Avalanche
right?
skull, and that's fine. So.
Yeah.
Well, to the point of the artwork itself, I think it looks absolutely stunning.
Oh,
I think the
it looks
3D
amazing.
model in game and like the sweeping animations for the attacks, I think looks really, really good. Like with that on top of the druid transformations that we got, what, a year and a half ago now? Every time that they update something, it looks
Yeah.
fucking good. Like I'm excited for the future.
About the Reaper form, I really like a lot of the tunic. She looks a bit more feminine, which I kind of like because Reaper was this kind of like just scarecrow thingy, and I like that. You know, she's a bit more this female death. I think she without being weird, right? So I really
Yeah.
like that. But I the only thing I'm kind of like weird about is like I understand that they put the sides in order to showcase this like motion going forward, and but I kind of like the omnius pose that the current one had of like the two kind of like I'm just gonna slash you like this, and now she has this. It's very hard to see the actual axis because in every angle like the axis is either pointing inwards or it's being blocked by the arm, and I would much rather kind of like go for a bit more of an omnious ghosty here I am, kind of like I don't know if you guys seen the new Puss in the Boots movie, but more of like I'm dead, I'm here, kind of like that kind of death, and not so much like I'm going fast. You know, I don't
Sure.
really care about.
You want something that has
motion.
like more presence to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss
I
the
mean,
presence. It does look good though, and I'll probably get used to it. But I would like a bit more of that. I'm dead. You know, the edgy boy in me wants to see those sights straight. But
You
it
really
looks
think she can hold
good.
them
We'll see.
correctly when she can't actually hold two?
One question though: if I'm an MTX enjoyer, do I get to see my wings on Reaper though? Because that's paid to lose, no?
Yeah.
Like
That is a
Reaper.
very, very good question. So
Like,
I'm gonna take this moment for a sec and segue into our second topic of conversation, which is the MTX store. We've been told that 091 will have MTX. There were two posts. One got a huge reaction from all sorts of people out there, and the second one went up earlier today. So we're gonna talk about the first news post first, and then we'll get to the updates after that. The first news post, I was not a fan of it. It told us that we were going to spend $9.50 in order to get 127 Epoch points that we can convert into Corrupt coins and then swap over to the mobile gaming pricing with like the non 1-to-1 ratio that they initially proposed. They've walked it back. They've changed it. But the initial pricing that they proposed, I really hated it. Like it just it felt in the past. It felt like we've been talking to the developers every day. Like most of us are like Kickstarters. Like we're here in early access. Why are you treating us like you're gonna pull the wool over my head? It's like, oh, I gotcha. You know, you're spending the weird amount of coins. You don't really know what the prices are.
I think to me, I mean, I definitely pointed out. I was streaming when they posted that, so I talked a bit about the FOMO. Not a big fan of it. Prices seem a bit high, but I think it's also all about perspective too. Because for example, I basically had a lot of questions, and I think the questions were worrying me more than the actual things they showed. for example, the fucking portal that was the 20-pack one, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, are we talking about beta only collectible that is gonna be like this? Oh my god, he has this, and it was really expensive when it came out and very exclusive, and the rest of the things are gonna be available. Are we talking like top luxury there? Is that our cap? Is that
Oh.
normal pricing? Like I had a lot of questions where because you have games with MTX where most MTX are pretty cheap, and then you have this one skin that is like, and it looked like pretty high tier because it had shaders and effects.
Mm-hmm.
So I was asking myself a lot, okay, are they just gonna is this gonna be a regular price, or is this like one of a kind? Okay, you're a whale, this is for you. Are they showing it to us to show us, okay, this is the price, start opening up your ass for the big D? Or is this more of like, guys, this is as high as we go, so you can be a bit more chill? You know what I'm saying? And which one is it? They didn't tell us. So obviously people are gonna think wrong because that's
Mm-hmm.
what they're used to. Now the price, I think, for what it was, it's high no matter what. Even because if I think about luxury, I don't know, luxury in my eyes looks a bit more luxurious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe a bit more golden. You know,
Dread, what's
maybe
in your mind?
Huh?
Something a bit
Me?
more flashy. But I also don't really like super flashy MTX where it's just you're in a different universe. So I don't know. I have a lot of questions more than anything.
I hear you.
For example, the fucking supporter pack thingy. Like, are we talking? Is it gonna be like $15 and it's kind of like a sub where it's a live? It's kind of like you treat it like a sub and you just do it to support the game and it's something that you're kind of cool, or are we are we talking it's $40? Like, I have so many
I think
questions
we have the
where-
prices for the supporter packs now. They
Oh,
said
do
the
we?
highest one was $50, right? That was the void one.
Oh, the cool one, yeah. 50.
The wings with the eyeballs on the back, yeah.
I mean, the wings do look cool, but €50 cool is you can get
That's another
you can have
game.
sex. You can have sex for this price in my city. Like, what
We're
the
gonna have to
fuck?
put some kind of tag on the front of this, let people know this is a not safe for work episode.
I'm sorry. Like,
It's okay.
is it gonna
They
be
have
that
the
good?
not made for
Is it
kids
that
tag.
good?
And,
Sure.
Like,
Someone here live in Twitch chat just posted the prices of all the updated stuff. So I'm gonna read these off. The first
Okay.
supporter pack is $20, second one's $30, next one's $40, and the highest one, the void one with the eyeball wings, is $50.
So when it includes the 15 EP, you got to remember you got to subtract $15 from the price, and that's like the actual cost of the
Sure.
stuff plus the EP.
Mm-hmm. And thank God the EP is like actually now a 1-to-1 ratio. So we'll talk about the second MTX post real quick. Okay, so in the first post they said that they were gonna have like a weird non 1-to-1 thing, which I equate with mobile gaming, and I hate it. And then the second thing that people took a lot of issues with was this is a lot of money, like $20 for a portal, $50 for the supporter pack. I guess we didn't have the supporter pack at that point, but like everything just kind of seemed like it was priced a little bit lower than Path of Exile, and Path of Exile is very, very high for their MTX, but Last Epoch already cost $35 up front to purchase the game. So like it's kind of this weird in-between plays. So those are the two complaints that I saw most often. Enter the second post, the MTX update that happened today earlier, was kind of walking back those decisions that they initially made. And I like where they ended up. They're doing a 1-to-1 ratio of dollars to Epoch bucks. And secondly, they lowered all the prices on everything. So I like that. I really, really like the communication. The post itself came out from Judd. It was like very clear what the communication was. Like, I like that kind of transparency coming in from EHG. I wish they would have done this initially instead of trying to like anchor me at the shitty price and then walk it back to a better price. I don't like psychological games like that, but
Yeah,
I assume that that's not what happened, but like it technically could be what happened.
Well, I think I think making a legit mistake or like trying to be like, hey, let's try to see what they think. Test the waters. It's beta. It's not final, right? It's all good, but then maybe just make a survey. I mean, which by the way, you knew what you would get.
It worked last time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love EAG. I will support them. Blah blah blah. Right? Like, I love you guys. But well, I mean, what did you expect? Like, come on. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not a business guy. Sometimes I doubt if I'm a guy to begin with. And how did you didn't see it coming? Like, I mean, like I mean, what do you expect? So it's a bit of a. I'm kind of getting tired of this. Like we screw completely, so then apologize, and then
And it's not a surprise to anyone. Like this, we're in
yeah. I mean,
2023.
and
I mean-
Companies been doing this for.
I read some people saying that they think it's like they're having this thing where they release something that is pretty bad, and then they like do it a bit less bad, so it looks like they listen and they are actually
the
reaching their
conspiracy
original
theory,
goal,
let's go.
and it's this like mind game marketing 5-head 4D chess god gamer moment. Is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, the reality is we're all complaining and we're all gonna still fucking play the game. So it's like sometimes I feel like it's a bit of a like a lost battle, and it is what like Asmon says, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But,
They said in the update, the MTX post, that the initial information, like they were following industry trends, they were just doing what other games do. And the one liner that really stuck out to me of somebody else posting on the forums, they said this was an opportunity for Last Epoch to stand out in the way that Last Epoch stands out, and they didn't. They just
yeah, I mean,
did the same pricing that all the shitty mobile games do.
Yeah, isn't the entire purpose of supporting Last Epoch running away from what others do? Is like it's like you go watch a metal band and they're gonna play Hannah Montana because pop is working. It's like, dude, what is going on? I paid for guitars. Like, yeah.
So
I don't know.
I like where they ended up. It's just the fact that they had the
Yeah.
first post at all is like, oh, it just felt so off base. Go ahead, Dred.
My thoughts on this entire thing, now that I'm around. My thoughts on this entire thing in general. It was kind of funny. I posted a video about the first post, and then they did the second post like a few hours later. I'm like, well, they fixed everything I had problems with. Delete. So I got rid of that video.
I actually haven't seen the second post up because I've been out all day.
Yeah.
But I mean, sounds
Second post is
it
good.
fixed
It's
most
really good
of-
communication. It really is.
Yeah, they fixed most of the problems, and my thing with the MTX store and all this and all that is, so when we buy the MTX, right, it's going to go towards other expansions and stuff in the future. Now, my thing is, right, since it seems like as though they're not going with a Blizzard philosophy where, or normal gaming philosophy where you pay for the expansion, right? They're just going to give them for free. So of course the MTX is a way for them to make the money to do that. Now, the thing is like, yeah, I don't like the prior system like at all, and this is like a lot better, but like my problem is, are they going to make enough to like actually support the game? And they should be able to, right? Obviously.
They're going to sell more copies of the game. They have
I,
Tencent funding.
I'm
Yeah.
just. I guess I'm just. I mean, especially being such a long time player, it's just like I feel like we all know they're good with communication. We all know they listen. We all know all these things. They always do it. So how can they not hire someone who can prevent this from happening? Like who? Like
maybe they did hire somebody who told them to do the industry standard. And they're like, hey, like this is what every other game does. Like you should do this as well. Like you do this for this reason.
Like brand risk,
Yeah.
Like
one of the main reasons why MTX in these kind of games, or just in general, right, is priced so high, is because 90% of the people or 99% of the people who play the game, especially with a box price game, right, like for God's sakes, aren't going to buy MTX, right? So they have to make it worth it so that when someone does purchase it, it covers everything and of course works towards the future. Now, my problem is that since it's a box price game, like that doesn't make that much sense in that regard, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of like having their cake and eating it too in that regard. And I don't know, like I don't know their financial situation. So I couldn't tell you.
There is so many ways to do this, like at least okay, you want Epoch points because you want to be able to give them or make community and be able to like be purchasable for those who
sounds good to
have
me.
currency issues. That sounds okay, but why not just also have direct purchasing so people can just choose how they do it?
Which now they do.
Why not? It's I don't know. Do we have to tell? Like, it's pretty obvious to me. I don't know. Also, yeah, Coca-Cola here.
I mean,
And again, the playing strats thing is like, I understand they want to make money. I mean, in fact, I want them to make money, and I think it's
Yeah.
completely fine to have some. I would even say I think it's fine to have things targeted at whales. Clearly, right? I think it's fine to have the tools for whales to whale, but I think you really need to make sure that the small fish are also fed, if that makes sense. And it felt really. I don't know. I've been a student before. I've been a gamer that, like, and I remember playing games where it's like, oh, I'm playing this character, and then this one skin comes, and it's FOMO, and I'm getting paid on Friday. Got softened. It's just like why do I need to go through that? I literally been I want to get this one skin for the one character I play. I don't have a lot of money, and now I don't know. Again, it's optional, and I don't want to get emotional about it, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And at the end of the day, it's an optional system, but the disappointment it is there, and I'm kind of tired of like they're really good at saying sorry. Just stop screwing up, please. In
like
Thank
a
you,
general.
yeah.
Toxic X.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It hurts my soul because then you're on stream, everyone's being negative, and you're just trying to be positive. And look, I wish I love when I'm proud of the devs, when I go like, holy fuck, look at this trade developer block, holy fuck, they're so smart. And I feel like I don't know what it is with fucking EHG. They either are god game developers, right? Legit S tier. Everyone talking about they're revolutionizing the industry, whatever, or they're just like fucking Pepega. Like there's no middle ground. Like I don't know. Sometimes I believe there's two dev teams and they're kind of fighting each other. The God tier one and the Pepega one. In my head, that's how it works. Someone hired his cousin or something, and he's just screwing things up for the rest.
I'm gonna take this chance to move on. We have
Yeah.
lots of stuff to cover. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna post something here in the chat. I was thinking about showing this on screen as well for people who are watching the
Don't
YouTube
even
video,
get me
but instead I'm just gonna
started
tell
on
you what we're doing
this.
here.
Don't
So we're gonna
even
take a
get
look
me
at
started on
Weaver's
this.
Will. This is the update or this is one of the Hype Week news posts that came out from Kane posted this one, talking about what's coming in 091. So Weaver's Will, I don't think anyone saw this coming. This is pretty much new information for everyone. But to describe it briefly, we're gonna have a new way of making legendary items. So normal legendary items and legendary farming and like tier 4 jewelry and whatnot, that continues to exist. There will be a new type of unique item that drops. Old unique items will not have Weaver's Will on them. There are only new subset of unique items that will have Weaver's Will. So Weaver's Will is a little number. It'll look visually the same as LP. It'll be like a little line of text on the top there. And it'll roll between 5 and 28. And I think I understand how it's going to work. But we'll have a number of unique items that have Weaver's Will. They look like unique item at first, but as you have them equipped, as you kill monsters, they will unveil additional modifiers on them. So it's like a build your own, grind your own item that levels up with you, and ultimately it's going to look exactly the same as a legendary item, but it's going to be random. So I said that it had between 5 and 28 Weaver's Will on it, and I think the way that this works, I asked Mike to explain this to me, and he said he could not yet. So I don't think the devs are allowed to give me any more information currently.
Oops.
So I think how it works, I think if an item has 5 Weaver's Will on it, it'll add an affix, so then it goes down to 4 Weaver's Will, and then it could either add another affix or it can go +1, and then it just does that every time. So you could have an item that has a tier 5 affix if it has 5 Weaver's Will, or your 5 Weaver's Will item could have a tier 2 affix, and then a tier 1, and then a tier 1, and then a tier 1.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So if you have 28,
it sounds like it's like that, yeah.
So if you have 28, it's yeah, that's 4 tier 7s on one item.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it works.
But again, I'm really interested about this system. Again, is it what everyone was wanting? Is it gonna make the game much better? No. Is it cool? Yeah.
Yeah.
Some monstrosities are gonna come out of it. Yeah. More power creep is what we need. I like the system. Okay, I'm gonna start saying I like the system. I think it's original. It's fresh. It's a bit confusing that they're also legendaries. Maybe it was the right thing for again, I'm sure they have something planned for sets, but seems
Mm.
I don't know. I guess crit is confusing, but this is not. Yeah. How much are we gonna see this? Because is it this technically can happen, like 4LP Ravenous Void, the classic EAG take of like, guys, you know? Or is this, let's be honest, you're gonna be getting 3 and 4 and 5 Weavers bullshit, and sometimes you're gonna get a 10, and there's this random guy on Discord who's gonna post a screenshot on single player with a 28 one. Like, is that what we're getting? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
Like, is there LP Weaver Wheel potential where like good items don't get high one? Is this 28 for everything? Like LP is 4 for everything, but realistically, it's 1 in a 12 billion or whatever.
My opinion on this whole system in general is it just feels like LP but worse. Like obviously you could have better results because you could technically hit that god roll and get like 3 tier 7s on a weapon or something like that.
There could be garbage modifiers as well.
That's what I was going to get into.
Yeah.
I think the problem with this system is that there's so much RNG involved that the chance that you actually get something that you want is ridiculously hard. Now, of course, the thing is as well is they're balancing, at least from what I've seen from the 2 uniques they've shown us, the Weaver's Will version uniques, right? Because they're a special class, like there's only specific items will get Weaver's Will, right? And my problem with this is like it seems like as though they're balancing them like actual LP items, like for instance, like ridiculous items like Bleeding Heart or something like that, right? So they're making them specifically underpowered so that, when you do get that god roll, it's not overpowered. But the problem is like, I don't think I really see that happening on a normal basis. Like for instance, the shield is cool and all, but I don't know. Like, and
I think the shield's
like
good.
The two,
I think the shield depends if it has caps or not, and what the caps are. It's either OP or dog. And if the cap is higher than 10, it's probably extremely good, especially for certain builds.
My problem with the shield specifically is like with the golden ages stacks. Most of the time, like when you die in LE, like it's not like when the boss hits you with a really big ability, right? It's when you get hit by a bunch of enemies at once, right? And the problem is the Golden Aegis doesn't do anything versus that because it's like boop, 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 boop. Oh, I'm out of Golden Aegis stacks. And if there's a cap, which there probably is like 5 or something, right? Because if it was more, it'd be ridiculous. It's not really going to help versus that as much. And of course, the ring, we had a long conversation about the ring on stream today, and I don't know, I don't like it. And my problem is
ring looks OP, no? Like straight up, it's like ribbons for
It's got percent health on it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but the last part isn't that good because that's a lot of effort to get 20 ward on hit, right? Like, or however much.
I think the word is whatever. No, it's like flare text.
I mean, at that point, then how often are we actually going to get like Weaver's Will on it, right? Are we going to get like 20 plus Weaver's Will normally? Like,
I wonder if it's always going to drop with Weaver's Will.
Oh no, I'm going to assume it's always going to drop with Weaver's Will because what's the point of making a subset of them that don't drop with it, right?
We don't have confirmation on that. That'd be interesting though. I hope it does.
I could see being even like that ring, right? Even if you drop it with low Weaver's Will, and let's say you get a bit lucky, not even crazy lucky, and you just hit that tier 7 of the thing you won, and you're playing a build that is just running a silver ring or a coral ring. I mean. And literally, you only won the tier 7.
We already use what's that ring called? Ribbons of Blood.
Ribbons.
Like Ribbons of Blood has 1 line of text on it. It's got percent health. And this is on a gold ring base. It's got health and mana on it. Like it's fine. It's cool. I like it.
So I don't know. It's one of those that it's gonna depend on balance. It's gonna depend what the items are. And again, I do think right now Last Epoch is way for an ARPG is. Everything is basically deterministic except idols. And I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I think idols are the best feeling drop in the game still today, even though they're the simplest.
I don't think enough people get excited about when you drop an insane perfect idol.
But it's probably because they don't know what the fuck they're dropping.
They're so good.
right? Like,
Yeah.
like
But
you could find a $1 million bill, and if you don't know what bills are, you're gonna be like, what is this paper? I'm gonna wipe my ass with it. So, and I do think we need a bit of randomness. How random is gonna be where it reaches the point that Dreadful was mentioning, where is it so random that you basically don't even attempt it?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're just like, oh fuck it,
well,
like
I mean, it's gonna happen like this. You're gonna drop one, right? And then you're going to make it so that it has 4 affixes. Or if you roll it and it hits stun avoidance, you're just gonna drop it on the ground, So
Yeah.
it's just like my problem with it is like it's so RNG based that it would probably be an easier time to just go and get a better unique and just slap LP on that instead, and your
I mean,
average results are going to be
you're
better.
saying that, right? But if you drop
Mhm.
14 weavers
Uh-huh.
and you just happen to have 2 tier 7s, depending on what those tier 7s are, let's just say you're playing a throwing attack
Well,
build and you have tier
if
7 attack speed and tier 7 throwing flat on the
yeah,
HP base.
yeah.
We're
Well,
talking. I
I'm gonna
think you don't need to
assume
get that random to make really good shit. But
yes.
again, I'm talking out of my ass because we
But
So are
didn't
you
see
are you
it.
gonna
that's
play
like
builds
let's
that
assume
only
it's
use
50-50,
one
right?
ring so
Like
that you
it's the
can
same.
level up these other rings in your off ring?
You already do that pretty much, no?
Just a bunch of random rings on?
I mean, no, we already did rings are so build defining at the moment. If you're playing melee,
Mm-hmm.
one is always typhons, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're playing range and you don't have haste, you're Quicksilver
So
coiling. It is
now
true
when
that
you drop one of these that has 14 will on it, do you just take off your second ring and throw this thing on so you can level it up?
we will see how long it takes, but maybe I just run an arena to level it up really fast. Who
Okay,
knows?
okay. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow,
And
maybe arena has a use. Whew. Okay.
I
maybe while
would
I level a new character, I put it on.
I
Sure.
would have been way more excited about the system if there were like a special affix pool instead of just being the same affix pool,
They did say
right?
that for like relic
They're
and
still
body armor
weighted,
helmet,
right?
that it's
They're
gonna be like
weighted
more
too.
likely to have
Well,
plus
yeah,
levels.
but that plus the sigils of hope isn't really going to help, is it? Like there are really bad plus to level skill gems. Like they're a bad one, so it's not like the rare stuff is always the best stuff, right? You're gonna break like a
Uh,
majority of these rings.
I don't know. I think it's too early for at least for myself to have like a
Mhm.
strong opinion about it. I
Yeah,
do think we need randomness in the game
yeah,
because I think the kind of randomness that we have in the game at the moment it's the kind is the kind of randomness that it basically doesn't exist.
yeah.
Because if you guys play quite a bit, right, just like me, for example, if you're playing, let's just say you're playing Warpath, and you want to get a
Mhm.
crit apathismo with one LP,
Like you're going to.
you're going to get it, and
Oh yeah.
it's math.
But
You're
is that a
gonna get it.
bad thing, Lizard?
No, it's not a bad thing, but the problem is like anything past that, you start getting into it's so
Yeah.
exponentially harder that it doesn't quite. You don't even go for it. If you happen to get it because you get lucky, good. But it's like
Mhm.
you like I hear especially nowadays there's so many new players. You have these people who come into your chat and they say I'm farming auroras with LP.
It's like, are you?
You don't farm auroras with LP. You play the fucking game and maybe you get lucky. Same for Bastion and same for all of these
Mhm.
super rare items, right? I mean, trade might change the game, blah blah blah. I'm talking about the game now, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe having some sort of like a bit of a have room to be excited system that is RNG that is a bit more likely to, they compensate the likeliness of happening because the likeliness of something extremely what you want happening is lower. It's like you get lucky more, you get surprised more often, but the surprise might not be what you wanted, and I think surprises are nice,
Yeah,
like
I agree.
especially if they're good surprises, right? Like the kind of
Speaking of surprises, I'm going to cut you off right there. We have one more
no
thing
worries.
that I want to talk about from this particular news post, and I'm going to turn to Dread first because I assume that Dread's excited about this item. At the bottom of this news post, there was a non-Weaver's Will item.
Dude,
It was a different,
that thing's
unique
so
item.
stupid.
Oh,
I'm
that
going
thing
to
is
read it
so
off.
stupid.
fuck,
I'm going to
man.
read it off in case no one's seen it yet. It's called Apogee of Frozen Light. And the most important thing you need to know about this particular item is that it's one-handed. And
Oh, it's one-handed
it's
too?
one,
Yeah.
it's one-handed.
You're gonna play
So
Cold
this is a long sword.
So stupid.
It has its normal implicit. So here are the explicit modifiers. They said 75 melee cold damage, which
That was
is
enough, by the way.
Which is,
But
if that was the only
wondering-
line of text, it would be, yeah, there's multiple people in chat saying, I thought this was a two-handed weapon. It's a one-hander.
It looks like it, at least.
So it has an
LP on this
astronomical
thing
amount
is
of
probably
flat
gonna be
damage.
So weird. It's gonna be like Ravenous Void to get a 1 LP one of these stupid things. Like,
It has +3 levels to cold and necrotic minion
we're assuming
skills.
that's a roll, by the way.
It might be a rule. So it's +3 to cold and necrotic minion skills. Chance, 36% chance for minions to chill attackers when hit. 31% more minion damage to chilled enemies. When a minion
That's generic,
dies,
by the way.
it's generic, yeah, generic. But it says when a minion dies, you gain a stack of Frozen Vengeance. And then here's a paragraph of text for you. So I'm just gonna read the whole thing. When you hit an enemy with a melee attack, you expend 1 stack of Frozen Vengeance to grant all of your minions Frenzy and 30% more damage to chilled enemies for 8 seconds. And
What was that about,
freeze
Raid
nearby
Simulator?
normal and magic monsters for 3 seconds.
Like, what was that about? Wraith Simulator?
It's got so much text on it. It's first of all, there's no way it
Like-
stacks, right? There's no way it
like,
stacks.
we were talking about power creep. This
I would
is
assume
60% more damage.
You
on
can
it.
refresh
Like,
it probably, right?
Yeah, probably refresh. Oh my god, I hope it doesn't stack.
Well, and it's not even 60 because they multiply each other.
Yep,
Well, yeah,
it's 2
yeah.
separate more multipliers.
Like,
It's a one-hander. You can do real.
imagine
mean,
giving
there is-
Abomination 60% more damage.
Ah.
There is 2 things we need to take a look at, right? One, I appreciate the effort of making impactful pieces of gear.
Yes.
But I think what we need to do is we need to have small impacts spread across different progression moments, right? So you can get 10% more damage here really easy with this item. Then you have things like Ocearon, another 10% there. Then you have something like chains of whatever the fuck, the new belt bullshit, right? And you get that. That's really cool. Then you get a good Omnis. That's like a good Siphon of Anguish. And you start stacking up these things. So your build is going over through progression and gear. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we're getting that power without getting nerfed somewhere else. When we're already too powerful, like it's particularly fucking minions. Like a small parenthesis about my super insightful take. This is just gonna be a hateful one. We've been playing this game for 3 years. Minion players don't have hands. They've been complaining about minions being weak, and now good players are playing minions. Guess what happened? Okay, close parenthesis. So now they're not nerfing minions. They're giving us more power, and it's contained on an item. There's just like, it's too much on a single place. Even
they could have cut the last 2 lines and it would still
Like-
be ridiculous.
They could cut any 2 lines off this, and it'd still be insane.
and again, I understand that. I just maybe again, there's a lot of things that we don't know. Maybe they're just gonna suddenly rebalance the entire difficulty of the game, and suddenly there is a boss
Maybe
that if
we
you don't
do
have this,
need
you
this,
can't even
yeah.
fight it,
Yeah.
right? But what the fuck am I gonna use this for? Squirrels are already one-shotting Julra. Are we gonna half shoot it?
Well, this is definitely best in slot, especially with
I
LP
mean,
on it.
I'm gonna make this.
And
this.
not only that, it's for
yeah.
any minion build.
Yeah, which
Uh-huh.
is pretty much.
I also don't really like best in slot for every build.
Yeah, it is,
like
it is
that.
for
Well,
minions.
it's only
30%
cold and
more.
necrotic minion skills.
No, we're talking about the more damage.
Who cares?
I would
Like 60%
cut my
more
arm
damage
off
that you can do
to
will
get 30% more damage on my build. Yeah,
Oh, that's true.
sure.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, when a minion
It's
dies,
only
can
a
stack
throat
of
of
it.
ambition,
Sure.
but on my weapon that I
Can we
wasn't
talk
gonna
about
use
how
anyways.
you can literally wear the fucking Etera boots and perma proc just by walking? Are we like?
Oh my
Yeah.
god, you can use it with the Etera boots.
Yeah, like, are we? Look, I know about this item for a second.
Oh,
and
also the vines,
in my
they'll
head,
freeze enemies too. That's
in my
great.
it's already broken 20 times. You can literally put big gloves with it and kill them intentionally.
It can have half the stats it currently has, and it would still be strong.
Well, can I tell you my idea? Please let me tell you my idea.
You're just gonna play
Okay.
Shatter Strike.
It says to cold minion skills, you can convert Swarm Blade to cold.
Oh yeah,
And it's a minion skill,
yeah.
and it's got 75 melee
have
cold
fun with
damage on it.
Serpent Strike, though.
And you summon all your locusts, and then you consume them to get a big what do you call it? A swarm or locust swarm around you, and there's a node that makes your locust swarm scale with minion damage, so you can get like all the minion or
That
the
actually works. That'd be so stupid.
so you get like the
Like-
more minion damage to chilled enemies and like the more minion damage to chilled enemies, right? Yeah.
I tell you what, if we didn't have any damage multipliers on skills and they just completely remade the game, that actually makes more sense than what we
Deal. I'll
currently
take it.
have.
I'll play that game.
Yeah, but
Like,
having
my-
the current modifiers with those modifiers plus the future modifiers, it's just like, I mean, at this like, I mean, there's some builds in the game at the moment that they have so much damage that they don't even interact with boss DR. They bypass it. That's how much
you
damage they
can
do.
bypass boss DR if you have enough damage.
Like it's like 90% DR or whatever the fuck it is. capping at.
I'm pretty sure you can't bypass boss DR. The devs have
No,
told me
you
so you
can.
can't.
What I'm telling is
Yes,
what I'm
I'm-
saying is like if you do 20 billion damage and it has 90% DR and the boss has 20 HP, doesn't fucking matter. You still one shot it. Right?
Oh,
That's what I'm saying by bypassing
Yeah,
it. Like you don't
gotcha,
care.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Like
as-
post DR
yeah.
at the moment is hurting the guy who's doing 20k DPS and he gets 30 and he's still doing 20 because post DR. The guy who's doing billions of damage playing a broken build doesn't give two shits about post DR because it's not strong to stop it. It's like a small wall trying to stop the fucking tsunami, you know, like.
Mm-hmm.
But the poor guy with a fucking water gun, yeah, good luck with the wall, you know. And the water gun is fun.
Yeah,
you know?
I think my thing with this sword is I'm going to assume this, okay? I'm hoping to God, and I'm going to assume this for EHG's sake on this sword, is that it is of the same kind of rarity that like Ravenous Void is or something like that. And that's the point. It's supposed to be a like one of those like headhunter rarity or whatever. But at that time, it's still stronger than that. Like they could take off the other 30% more damage modifier, like the 30% more minion damage to chilled enemies. They could take that off. And
Why is there an
still-
entire paragraph
yeah,
as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6? The sixth line of text is an entire paragraph.
this
like,
thing
really,
here with 4 LP, it's gonna be like a CVS.
It's like
of a
Val
suit.
Ice Nova.
Guys,
I can't read my own thing.
Guys, we didn't give set items LP because the descriptions would be too long.
Well, that speaking of that, I was talking with someone earlier on stream, and we kind of realized, I'm like, wow, they found the perfect way to fix set items, but they didn't put it on set items. That's sad. With the Weaver's Will stuff, it's just like, oh, that's disappointing. Imagine if set items just got Weaver's Will. Oh,
That
you
would be
fixed the
kind of
whole
cool, wouldn't it?
system. Oh my god!
I
And
wouldn't
I'm like,
mind
oh,
that.
Wait, no, they're on new uniques. Okay.
Yeah, we're in a pretty weird spot regarding power at the moment because I was listening to actually this podcast because I was a bit. I always listen to them when I'm working or walking or whatever, right?
Thank you for
And
being
I
my
listened to
number one
Volcas
fan.
one the other day. Pretty nice. I mean, he's learning slowly. He's a bit of a noob, but and then I was listening to Flindler, the actual genius of Elite, right? And I really resonated with me what he said about Avalanche, how like Avalanche 3 is actually kind of like good for the game, but because everything else is so different, it looks so dog shit that you don't even appreciate it, right? And I mean, maybe Avalanche needs a bit of love on top of that, right? Don't get me wrong, like full conversions and things like that for lining too, for example. But yeah, we have this problem where like you have a new player, and they go to maxroll.gg or whatever the fuck, right? And they go, oh, I'm gonna play this build, and there's go to Reddit, and there's this fucking 20 guys pushing 1,500 corruption with no mods with raids, right? And it's like, and then they go play, I don't know, Sabertooth, which is a fine skill, really good. But I mean, you're comparing it to that, is just gonna look absolute dog shit, right? It's like that's, and then we're in this like I think we're like slowly, the snowball slowly starting in, and I can see it forming. I can see the town waiting there to be destroyed by the Grinch, and I'm just here watching, being like, guys, maybe the snow is like winter's coming, like I don't know. I think in order to fix a lot of these things, we need a very big balance, and I don't know if the devs are even willing to go that far or to even accept that is necessary. So I don't know.
I mean,
Well, ladder is gonna be fun. I can tell you that much.
normally normally what's supposed to be the retort to that argument, what it's supposed to be, right? Is supposed to be it's an ARPG. It's not meant to be balanced. But that is flawed because there needs to be some kind of balance. Otherwise, you get something like Apogee's Will. I mean, Apogee of the Froze. It's so funny. I actually had to look up how to pronounce Apogee. By the way, I was like, "What the heck?" But yeah, like really, like I'll be honest, like this thing, like I like the idea of having more endgame chase uniques. Like that doesn't hurt the game at all, right, Lizard? That does. Do you think that hurts
No,
the game having more endgame
chase is
uniques?
good, but I think there's
Not this
also
though. Not this.
there is also I'm gonna actually talking about Volca. He mentioned the capping LP thing, etc. You guys had that discussion. If you don't know what I'm talking
Mhm.
about, go
I
listen
know
to
what you
that
mean,
episode.
capping it to like 3 or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
But basically, I think there is a difference between a dog chasing a bone attached to a car, and like a dog chasing a bone that is waiting there, standing still, right? Waiting for you to get it. And I feel like at the moment we're just running behind cars that we're never gonna fucking get, and we might actually get run by in the process because it's not too fun to do.
What a metaphor.
And
Oh, actually,
yeah,
you know,
I'm gonna move on
I
after this
want
thread.
chains.
So,
I want chase, but I want to be able to finish my characters. Like
yeah.
like this,
Can I bring
you
up one
can
more thing?
technically
Yeah,
have
Dread,
4 LP.
one more thing before we
Yeah.
move on to something else.
Fuck that.
Speaking of what Lizard was saying earlier about, the noob being like noob looking at builds and like comparing it to that, yada yada yada. Speaking of Phrase Dark, he was in my Twitch chat earlier. Yeah. I was playing like Bleed Lethal Mirage, right? And he was like, "Oh, is this as good as like Flame Wraiths?" I'm like, "No, like why would you compare this to that? Like that's on a completely different level than this. Like this is a fair build. That's not fair. Like it's not intentional. It's like I pulled up. Remember the kill that Arborist did with Flurry, like Poison Flurry? Remember that? Like the 4 seconds or whatever. Remember that, Lizard? I pulled that up on stream and I was like, "What do you guys think of this?" And they're like, "Oh, that's what I want my build to do," and all that. And I'm just like, guys, this isn't intentional. This isn't what you're supposed to compare yourselves to. This is ridiculous. This is like completely unintentional, stupid bull crud. Like it's not the point of the game. And it's just like, well, everyone wants it. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the entire thing about how is this game hard to balance at all compared to like other games that are balanced. Like I understand PoE being hard to balance because in PoE you can make a Sentinel with Flame Ward and Reaper form that casts Earthquake. I get it. How do you control of these axes? Dude, in LE, if something is broken, it's completely isolated. You can't use it with anything else. You just nerf it.
Yeah.
It takes it literally like it. At least
Yeah, like
try it.
race have been broken for a how long?
You wanna
Like,
fix rates? You cap the range, you nerf the damage, you make Aberrant Call LP like high enough so getting more than 1 LP is extremely hard. You make it chase that is realistically to get, and that alone would slow them to build so much. Anyone playing that build has tier 7 cast speed, tier 7 fucking minion spell damage, Aberrant Call on day 1.
It does feel like everyone
4 LP.
has their own copy of that particular 2 LP
Yeah,
item because I
and
see it on
that
Reddit all
is
the
a
time.
that is a problem.
So
right?
let's move on to something else. We're about 50 minutes in, and as long as Lizard is okay to go, because he's in a different time zone than the rest of us, I'm gonna keep going. Is that all right?
it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
fine,
he'll
it's
want to
fine.
talk about this topic, the next one coming
So
up.
with 0.9.1, we have the return of something that I think all of us has been really looking forward to. It's nice to know what people are up to. It's nice to have a little bit of friendly competition. It's nice to push and try to get your name on top of the ladder because the ladder is coming back. So for those of you who don't know, in the past, we've had the ladder for the endless arena, getting as many waves as you could. I tell people, like, if you're a new player, getting 200 waves in the arena is great. If you're pushing your build and want to know is my build good, like 300, 400 waves, like that's awesome. That's a really good job. If you're trying to be competitive in hardcore, 400, 500, 600, try to be competitive in softcore, probably like 800, 900 is what you're looking for. Like those are the kinds of numbers that I know about because I've done a little bit of competition. But Lizard, you've done way more competition than I have. You were grinding out arena before I even knew what Last Epoch was. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the arena returning and the fact that we don't know whether there's going to be any bug fixes coming in the next, or like bug fixes or balance patches?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. The first thing I want to mention is that it was really weird because I actually kind of like stopped playing or not stopped playing, but kind of not really pushing myself super hard in the arena lately, like before, because obviously we had the notepad situation, and also the game wasn't really stable. So a lot of the times I would just play for 3 hours and then I would just freeze, and well, it sucks, right? It wasn't really my fault. Go again. But it's very funny actually. I've been playing now. Surprisingly, there's some desync sometimes, but I mean, I played with 1 FPS before, so it's completely playable to what I'm used to, right? And it's actually funny because none of my deaths have actually been performance related. And even though I'm playing like absolute dog, I'm actually getting super high already in some tests that I've done. Not even playing a good build for it, just kind of testing. So yeah, if something is good and is consistent, we're gonna see fucking crazy numbers with the current power, to the point where there are numbers that I don't even think is gonna be a fun competition. Like for example, a marathon can be entertaining, but 7 marathons in a row is I mean,
Well,
is that
marathons
really?
also end,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
endless arenas
But
don't end.
yeah, but I mean, there should be. I
Yeah.
think the dev should have something. I mean, it's a tricky topic because obviously the player skill is a thing. But they also been doing this thing where like, oh, this guy is pushing this high. They just nerf this skill and they don't take into account that there's one guy in the world doing it. And then you have things like that literally anyone can push rates to 1,000 if they want to. They
And
literally
actually,
stand still in a corner.
it
Literally.
reminds me of League where that one guy was pushing really high. I'm like, I don't play League, but I like watch videos on it and stuff. But like, there was this one guy that was pushing Pike in the jungle, and people got really angry because you weren't supposed to actually push him in the jungle. You're supposed to push him somewhere else. Like he was meant for like top lane or whatever. No, he was playing top lane Pike when he was supposed to be in the jungle. Yeah, and he got banned because everyone was angry that he was in top lane but not in the jungle. But like he was doing really well, right? Like he was like pushing through the ranks and everything. That's just what reminds me of you, Lizard, with the vengeance thing. you got screwed over because you're performing too well.
Yeah, and another thing people are mentioning, like in the chat, that is that not because Julra gloves, guys. Raids were
No,
pushing
raids are broken without that. Yeah.
Raids were pushing 1,000 waves and one-shotting Julra before Julra gloves fucking existed. You know, like that build is you could remove Julra gloves from the game and that build still one-shotting Julra. And if yours is not, you're doing something wrong. Right?
Mhm.
So and yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's gonna be really interesting. I'm actually at that point where first of all we don't know what. I mean, if lost knowledge is the way it is,
Mhm.
and if
You're gonna see a lot of glacier builds for sure.
well, it's not only that. It's just like I mean, you're just. I don't know. I'm a bit scared. I'm not gonna lie, especially because I really I put so much effort into trying to put. I really wished, even if arena gets really sweaty, I really wish it was the good kind of sweat. Like in some games, the best people are actually the most flashy ones and the ones that are more spectacular to watch. So it's really fun entertainment. But in some other games, if you want to be on top, it's like a KDA games or just camping on a corner, and you're actually encouraged to camp in a corner because you want to get the kill streak or whatever. Like I mean, the game is asking you to do that. That's why you do it. But there's
Camp
other
in a
games where
corner,
like
off
you gotta,
screen, don't interact with the
yeah.
monsters, kill them
But in
like
other
before they
games,
see
if you don't go fast, you
Yeah.
lose, right? Because the game is
That's
about
like
speed.
that's like in PoE where like you make the most amount of currency, which is the flashy thing in like Path of Exile, right? Make the most currency doing sextant rolling while sitting in a 5-way. It's like
Yeah,
that's not
and
very exciting,
I,
you know.
I think that it's the devs' responsibility to make sure that the most efficient way to play their game is the most fun way to play their game. Like I'm fine with the game not being balanced. Is if whatever is not balanced is at least fun. Like standing in a corner with raids, not seeing enemies on your screen, is not fun, right? Like for example,
Yeah.
something like shadow daggers, running around, dashing. Okay, they're broken, but I mean, at least it's kind of engaging. It's not
fun
for me, but
gameplay, big explosions,
yeah,
lots of
but
movement.
standing in a corner with widescreen elemental nova hitting things off screen, I don't want to do that. Like, and again, if you're forcing me to outstream the game in 32 by 9, is that what we want? Like,
So we've mentioned this a couple times already as examples, but I was
A timer
asking
would only make it worse, by the way.
I was asking Twitch chat what kind of questions they wanted to ask about Arena now that we have Arena returning and we have you at the podcast here. And one of the questions that I got was, what builds would be good in Arena? Like, how can I tell if my build is good for Arena? How do I tell if my build is bad for Arena?
I think there's different builds for different types of players. For example, there's builds that I think can go really high, but it's necessary to be good at the game, right? And there's builds that might not be as good as the builds that take skill, but if you're complete, absolutely no hand, no brain, you know nothing about the game, you'll have crazy success with it that you will not be able to emulate. I would say if you're not really good at the game, you want to push high, play minions, plain and simple. As long as they're alive, you'll probably push. I would say obviously you want to play something that is not super mechanical, something like Elenova, things like that. Things with a lot of AoE, things that you don't have to aim, Nova hammers, Smite, Warpath, things that basically you can screw up mechanically, right? But if you're extremely good at the game, things like just like a Sork with like static orb, playing with the push, things like Leech with Marrow Shards, something like that. Those builds that if you play them perfectly, they have room for you to basically kind of take anything that the arena can throw at you. But if you're not going to be doing those things, you just want to play some cookie cutter broken bullshit. And you're actually probably for most of the patch, you're probably going to beat the guys who can beat you with those high skill builds, because those high skill builds will probably take a few attempts to get just that perfect run where you're just crisp. Whereas the guy who's just playing Warpath spinning around in circles, probably gonna be pushing around the same time every time until they run into something they didn't even see, right?
Yeah, there is a theme with all of these builds, by the way, if you're not understanding Twitch chat, with all the builds that Wizard are talking about that aren't mechanically like hard to get around. These builds are usually the builds that allow you to not interact with the mobs. Generally not interacting with the mobs is one of the best ways of pushing an arena, it turns out, because like if they don't even reach the same screen as you or you're not near them, they can't kill you. So it's just like Warpath, you make them follow you. Wraiths, you shoot off screen. Ellie Nova, you do the widescreen stuff. As long as you're not interacting with them.
On the same note, Red, CC at the moment would be the way to go. If I
Oh,
have to
yeah.
actually,
Oh, yeah.
if I let's say there's
Well,
money
that's a
in the
different
line.
way of not interacting, right?
If there was money in the line and it's like a $10,000 pool or whatever, and I'm like, I have to be dirty because I want to pay my rent for the next year, right? You're definitely playing some broken ass CC bullshit where you're just things don't move,
Yeah, and that's like the thing is like, are we gonna like encourage the behavior of not interacting with the enemies?
I hate that because the best thing about Last Epoch is the combat, and if you incentivize perma CC, guess what you get rid of?
Learning the different enemies, like what they look like, what skills they use, whether you're dodging left and right, whether you should teleport behind them, whether you should wait for a cooldown and then jump in. That's really, really good. And I don't think people realize that portion of Last Epoch until you play Arena. And it really starts to pick up around like 250, 300 waves in the arena. You start realizing like, oh, like I do know what this monster is about to do. I can dodge here, avoid this, walk behind him, and then attack. And like that is awesome. Snap freeze is really boring.
And then there's also the thing. I think a lot of people. First of all, arena is not for everyone. Some people, if it's not for you, it's okay. That's fine.
There's no reward.
Yeah. The ladder is the reward. If that is not enough motive for you to play, just don't even step in it, right? And that's completely fine. And I think I would actually remove rewards completely from the arena, so there's no misunderstanding. Because people see barrels and they think, what the fuck? Just take off the barrels. If you go in, you're going to push. If it's hardcore, you're going to die, and that's it, right? Just make it what it is. Stop it. You have Arena of Champions for loot and shit, right? And I think if you go into Arena, I've seen a lot of people say things like, oh, I don't really like Arena. But I look at the gameplay and they're playing some block build, standing in the middle of Arena, not even looking at what's coming at them, face tanking everything, spamming their main skill while reading chat. And then something comes that it's obvious they're gonna kill them, but because they haven't been paying attention to what the game is about, they go, what the fuck? I'm at wave 300, I have to go again? Fuck this game mode. When in reality, they should actually use those easy ways to learn the fucking game. If you're playing arena and you're getting hit by things over and over at 300 waves, well, the moment you can no longer face tank, you're gonna die. And the only place to learn to not get hit is the places where you actually can get hit and survive, so you can get practice. And again, that's not for everyone. A lot of people, when they play RPGs, they are looking for a relaxing, a lot of a relaxing gameplay. They're not really looking for checking their reflexes. And it's not like you need a lot of reflexes, but you need at least to be engaged with what is being thrown at you. And obviously, a lot of people don't realize too, like how spawns work and wave manipulation, spawn points, different mob combinations that you have to play differently. And if you're playing the game without that knowledge, it's like imagine playing a game of basketball and you don't even know you're allowed to use your hands, and you're trying to play basketball with your feet. They're like, well, this basketball game is bullshit. Yeah, well, if you try using your hands, you're probably gonna have better fun, right? So yeah, it's not for everyone. I get it. And I am really worried though that Arena is gonna have a very bad reputation, because the people, if there's no changes, the people who will do good in Arena and the gameplay that people will see in Arena is gonna be those builds that are just overpowered for no reason. Why is Turbo Vengeance getting nerfed while Raids is one-shotting Julra? Like depths.
The game's still in early access. They haven't done like there's gonna be one big balance patch, right? There has to be. Like
I thought it was
0.95 or 0.910 or like right before 1.0. Like there's gonna be a huge one big balance patch, right?
Yeah, I almost don't know what the ladder is for now, because obviously they had it done, its content, they can put it in the patch to fill it up. To me, it seems like it's a patch before Diablo 4 to get some traction and then go back to work. It seems to me that it's more for polishing, people to get experience the campaign and experience and blah blah, and then what is the campaign gonna be when there's not gonna be hype anyway when people are on D4. Not only that, I mean, let people go play D4 and then have a proper release of when the game is balanced. Like I almost wished it didn't balance yet. They didn't release it yet, even though I'm the most, probably the person who wants it the most.
Apparently, there was a leak just recently.
Go on.
Post in chat here.
A
Sorry
leak?
to interrupt.
Right now?
There you go. Yep, right there.
What the heck is this?
A new Weaver's Will unique that was just announced.
Oh. You want to read it or should I?
You can read it, Lizard. I'm sorry if I cut you off. You can finish, by the way. I just saw that. I was like, ah.
Ooh, okay.
Holy fuck.
I'm gonna read this out. So it's a pair of boots. Remember, all these things have between 5 and 28 Weaver's Will, which means they always drop with at least 5. So these boots have 8 movement speed as the implicit. Kind of a bad pair of boots, like a iron boots, low-level pair of boots. But the explicits are movement speed, so 5% increased movement speed, 10% chance to gain haste for 3 seconds when a nearby enemy dies, 20% less damage over time taken while you have haste. When you gain haste or refresh its duration, you gain 17 ward and your minions gain haste and frenzy for 3 seconds. Oh, it's a minion item. Well, I mean, it's a good item. Actually, I do like I kind of like this item. Like less damage over time taken. That's a really hard thing to mitigate in last year.
Yeah, that's about what I was about to say. Like you just have like a werebear build that has like haste all the time or whatever, right? Like this is amazing because like I was actually complaining about just earlier on stream. I was like, I wish there were more ways of getting damage over time reduction. I'm like, here you go, right there.
Sure.
Good Weaver's Will, which will take 5 years, but other than that,
this seems like a great pair of boots.
Yeah,
I like it. Okay, it's like nice and generic. It's got some movement speed on it already, and then
it's very interesting because at the moment I'm also hearing you guys talk about it. It's very interesting because I think right now when you're in atomization in games, in Last Epoch, there is 2 stages, right? You get at the beginning you kind of die to everything because you don't die to anything because the game is easy, but if you push too high or whatever, you kind of like can die to mods pretty much. Then you get to the point where you don't care about mods, but you like you guys are saying, damage over time is kind of screwing with you, and then you reach a point where you have so much HP and so much sustain that you actually don't even care about damage over time anymore, right? So I wonder at what stage of the game these boots are for, because what kills you in Last Epoch at the moment is actually getting stunned, right? You get stunned and then you die.
At
You
the
don't-
highest
you-
levels, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, at the highest level,
Mhm.
right? That's what gets you killed. And it's by the way, a small parenthesis. Stunning makes the game less fun because you're playing like a pussy because you're scared of getting stunned by 1%. And if you get stunned by 1%, you die. So that you don't play aggressively to not get stunned, and it makes the gameplay worse. A stun should only be a mechanic when you're leveling up to slow players down, and it should be bypassed endgame, like cannot be frozen in Diablo 2, to engage aggressive gameplay and to engage brawling, which is the most fun aspect about the game. And you should not motivate me to never get hit because an arrow that is homing at me and will hit me no matter what has 1% chance to stun me and end my 6-hour arena run or
Big agree.
boss fight.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
That aside, because you are building we're in the HP meta, blah blah blah. Eventually, you have so much sustain that dots are kind of like you get to the point where your build has like the HP going up and down thingy. So yeah, it's. I mean, the boots look cool. I mean, if you slam the right thing on them, like some movement speed, some hybrid health, and even
I
who
mean,
knows,
these
right?
would be a lot better if there were an LP item. Cough, cough.
Frenzy on minions is kind of hard to get for some
Mhm.
classes too, especially reliably. So.
Mhm.
Like I mean they're cool. I don't hate them. I don't love them. I think they're cool. They're definitely usable. I don't
Cool.
know. Cool.
I think that about does it for the first few topics of conversation. We talked about all the hype week stuff. Talked about Reperform, the 2 MTX posts, the new Weaver items, along with some new unique items that were spoiled, including that one-handed sword. And we talked about ladders as well. I have a little activity to do at the end of this podcast, and we're over the 1 hour mark. So I think we're going to do 3 of these. Let's choose. I had 5 things that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to swap it over to 3 instead. So let's save 2 of these for a different time. I wanted to play a game with Lizard called Fix This Unique.
Okay.
So Dread and I talked ahead of time, and we gathered a list of all the unique items that we wanted to talk about that might need like a little nudge in the right direction. So we're gonna play Armchair Developer and see what kind of feedback we can give for these particular unique items. For me, as somebody who hosts the build contests, these are items that just I wouldn't put in a build contest because I don't think there's anything particularly interesting to do with them. So the first one that we're going to talk about, and to see if we can make a little change, maybe make it a more functional item, is it's a unique belt. It's called Azrael's Fury. So I'm going to pull this up. I guess I can't pull it up on screen for the people who are watching live, but I posted the name of it. Actually, you know what? We have a bot in chat. So we can type in !item followed by Azrael's Fury, and you get a link to that.
That's the bow, yeah.
What an excellent
it's
bot.
the belt with regen, but it also.
So this, so the belt has health regen.
Yeah.
It's got % fire damage. When you use a potion, you can't regen mana anymore. But while you are using non-channeled melee skills, you consume 20 extra mana to deal plus 100 melee fire damage. Why does no one use this belt?
I mean, well,
it's actually pretty simple. You don't need damage in last epoch, so why bother?
I'll be honest. The most attractive thing about this belt is the 26 health regen.
It actually is, isn't it? Like using this with the Shard of Shattered Lance.
Use it, you accidentally use a pot. Oh, there goes your mana.
So what could you change about this thing? Like what would make people want to use an item that turns off their mana regen, but like the next couple attacks deal a bunch of damage?
Remove all the last 3 of those affixes, so I just get a belt with a bunch of flat health regen on it. I'd be fine with that.
That's boring.
It is boring, but that's what happens.
But like using a potion, like having an item that transforms a potion into an offensive item, like Grimoire does that. There are other items out there that do this. Go ahead.
I mean, I feel like sometimes the devs are going for these like big, impactful effects that are like jaw-dropping. And I think some of them are so alien to how the game is normally played that they just kind of like, they're dead on arrival because it's just like, well, if I need mana to cast my shit, then the game is about literally everything in the game wants you to spam things because you want to stack every element in the game, every shred, every this, every that. Like you're kind of punishing me for having downtime, period, right? Leeching, everything. You don't want to have downtime, right? and then you make this thing. It's like, I mean, if you have a game that is played that way, a certain way, you have two options. You change how your game is played and then you design around it, or you make items that fit your game. And I think this is one of those that, I don't know. I mean,
I
sure,
think
okay, I do a lot of damage for 1 second, and then what? Like, I could just like spam a 0 damage skill while being, I could just be dealing millions of damage on Frostbite Stormblade. Why the fuck am I gonna bother with this?
Well,
I could play raids and have
what
infinite
what
mana.
if what if
What is
it
this?
what if instead of like draining your mana, what if it just gave you, plus 100 melee fire damage for the next 1 second, for the next 2 attacks, for the next 3 seconds?
I think you know what I would like to see. I would like to see something like the coded. I think it's called coded blades or coded something. The marksman
yeah, the
thingy.
80% more damage if you
Yeah,
consume mana,
basically,
yeah.
what if it added like an extra mana cost to your spells, and it gave flat damage, right? And maybe it's a buff that can stack. So you can have up to 5 potions or whatever. Each stack is like, let's just say 10 flat damage. So you just like chunk 5 potions in a row because you're YOLO. I'm gonna kill the boss now. You get big damage, but obviously your next attack is gonna cost like an extra 50 mana or whatever. But you could also just use it from time to time to be like, oh, that's a very scary pack of mobs. I need a bit of extra damage.
It's interesting. Hercur's Vessel is kind of like what you're describing there. It's this like
yeah, but
unique
that one
relic,
doesn't stack,
but like
no?
yeah, it doesn't stack. It's very weird like that.
No,
All
you
right.
could have more, right, Frassi? Because you could go for plus potions with LP. I mean, I'm not gonna get there, but
Yeah.
you could get
All
5.
right, so
That's
that's
why it said.
go ahead.
I think the way to fix this specifically would be to make it so False Water's Fury doesn't drain your mana, and it just adds 20 mana to your attack, and then maybe 100% more fire damage or something like that. So, and then it'll end if you run out of mana. So you have to like play around and be like, all right, I get all this damage, but if I run out of mana, I lose it, and then maybe add a cooldown or something for that, so that you're locked out of using it. I don't like the drain and the flat mana concept both times because like I think that is overkill. I think you're just gonna be out of mana. And I'll be honest, the only build I've ever thought about using this on is that One Punch Paladin build for the memes, and that's it.
I can appreciate
and
that.
of course, on a vessel build where I just unbind my potion key.
Sweet.
It's seriously, you would just unbind your potion key, you're good to go.
We have a second item that I want to talk about. So we're gonna do 3 of these. Item number 2 is this one here. It's called Shadow Beacon. This is one of the new unique items that was added in 0.9. It hasn't really found a home as far as I know. So this is a 2-handed mace. It's got a whole bunch of implicit damage, 106 melee damage. Explicit, it has it goes 50 to 105 melee void damage, 50 to 100 spell void damage, 50 to 100 endurance threshold, +1 to level of void skills, area for void spell area skills, and then chance to transport devouring orbs around the target location when you use Erasing Strike.
Yeah, I'm gonna burst chat's bubble here. I don't know if you guys knew this, but did you guys know that Devouring Orb in its normal state, you just place it on the ground and it doesn't orbit around you? I just blew like all 122 people's minds in the chat, by the way, because no one's ever used the other version of Devouring Orb ever. So,
so is that a build? Is that what we're doing this?
So, all right. My problem with this is it's the perfect example of where you try to make an item all around flavor, but then you never think about balance or what am I actually going to do with this?
Are you talking about Void Cleave? Are you talking about Void Cleave?
No, well, no, Shadow Bacon, because like it's a flavor win in theory, right? But in balance, it's a complete failure, right? It's just a complete failure. It's like
I'm thinking it's a 2-handed mace, so I can't use Void Cleave with it, so I can't play Void Cleave Erasing Strike.
Well, yeah. But the point of it, okay, in my opinion, the point of it is to abuse the Devouring Orb part of it, kind of like a brand and PoE or something like that. I would never use it with Erasing Strike because for some reason they nerfed it for absolutely no reason. So this patch.
So how do we fix this item? How do we make it so people want to use it?
I had the mixed feelings with this item because when it first came out, in my head I was gonna Syndra ult from League of Legends. Like this character throws bolts and then you throw all the bolts, right? And I thought that's what they copy basically everything from League of Legends. So I thought that's gonna be it, right? And which is a good thing because League of Legends has amazing fucking combat, right, for isometric. And then it wasn't working when I got it. Like it was completely bugged, and then I haven't touched it since because I thought it was still bugged. I thought it
it was
it wasn't
only
working.
visually bugged. They were still there. They just,
Cool. I see a recommendation showing up in chat. Someone said devouring orbs that are teleported in this matter last for +2 seconds. Yeah, or you because so then you can kind of chain them like a brand recall, add additional seconds to it.
I can already tell you what the problem with this item is. Like it's
you already you can tell me that it's a maze. Okay, go ahead.
Well, no, not even that. Like even ignoring that, where's the base crit? Like, are we managing to find this magical non-crit build that I was told about that exists, or are we gonna actually crit with this thing? Because like, am I gonna be forced to have to wear a prismatic gaze on every single build that wants to use a bad unique?
And your locket as well for +3 void base crit, sure.
Yeah, like, am I gonna have to run a prismatic gaze on every single bad unique build I ever make? Like, is this gonna be the case? Like, maybe this would make sense if there was a world where non-crit worked, but it's like, or if there's base crit and devouring orb, or there's base crit and erasing strike, but why are you using this?
Yeah, at the moment it's a bit weird, right? Because I think Void Knight has all of these identities going on at the moment, where it's like, okay, they want you to do this melee hybrid spell thingy with like Racing Strike, Void, Rifts or whatever, do more damage, whatever, right? But then it's like, okay, it's kind of like hit build, but then there's not really good multipliers for the dot damage build, but then a lot of the good abilities are dot damage, and it's kind of like Abyssal Echoes and all that, right? And I don't know, it's kind of like, I think they're basically they're whoever is working on those is a bit of a fantasy enjoyer, not so much. I'm all about fantasy enjoyment, but sometimes it's the way you think people play your game is not how people play your game. So
maybe not as widespread as the million identities that ForgeGuard has, but still just a tiny bit spread out. It could use a little bit more focus.
Sentinel is such a mess. What the fuck?
It's so sad because there would have been a way of making this viable too if like there wasn't that weird balancing decision that made it so that for some reason maces don't get bleed chance. I'm like, if you could put
you want to play bleed devouring orb?
Yeah.
Oh god, I would love that so much.
Good, okay, but it would work because reversal's stupid, right? Like it would function, but like
yeah. I mean, the reversal change to begin with it got me so whatever. I don't want to get into it. Like
I know
like we complain about it's mandatory because it gives too much damage. Hey, let's buff the damage, and it's actually sucks to use now. Nice.
Can I ruin the stream real quick?
You're gonna ruin it?
I
sure,
just completely forgot. We didn't even talk about the private versus non-private thing with the ladders.
Didn't even talk about it. Let's get through one more item, and then we'll talk about your poll that you ran recently.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the last item that we're going to talk about here it's actually this one. Let's go ! Item, and this thing. Yeah. Speaking of Void Knight, my friends, we are talking about this particular item.
I wish it was.
This one's pretty close to being good, I think.
I just think it just needs the chance to cast Abyssal Echoes on boss and rare hit, and it'd be fine. It would work. It'd function.
So for the people who are not currently watching live, this is Trident of the Last Abyss. This comes from from killing General Harden in the level 80 monolith, I believe. So Trident of the Last Abyss, it is a trident, which means it is a good base type. It's basically an Odachi, but it's a little bit slower. So it's a two-handed spear. It has some flat melee void damage, 40 to 60, 50 to 90 increased void damage, chance to cast Abyssal Echoes on melee kill, 4-second cooldown, 75 void res, in case we get a payoff for that someday, and 5 to 7 void damage leached its health on hit. So why does no one use this thing?
I mean, let's be real. Even if we fixed it, like with the thing that we talked about with giving it so the Abyssal Echoes could work on boss hit, it would still be god awful. But at least then it would be fun.
I mean, there's different things, right? First of all, I don't think weapons and things and damage types and things like that are really bad on their own. It's more about like, okay, what can make use of this? And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's a melee void polearm. There's no polearm support really, right? Okay, you have lunge, whatever. There's like most of the melee ones that you want to be using with something like multi-strike, which I've used in the past. Well, without crit, it's just like gonna be a bit rough. Then the cool thing about it is on kill, so it's useless on bosses. I mean, again, it's like, okay, now you want to farm this shit, which is you gotta go to this boss that you never want to do anyway. You gotta farm it. It's gotta be good because the implicit is important. Then you gotta get LP, so you gotta get crit or something. Then you can get attack speed. If you just get a rare weapon, you get attack speed, crit, flat damage, sealed, whatever. And not only that, then you don't have shield, you don't have slow, you don't have armor threat. And it's a 200 weapon, so you're not wearing a shield and you're a sentinel. So you basically have 15k HP. So it's like, I mean, it's not really the item that is bad on its own, because again, if you gave multi-strikes only 20 flat crit on its 3 when you're using a polearm, hey, cool, right? Like, but the problem is that doesn't exist, so the weapon kind of like falls apart.
Yeah,
And
it needs the Rive treatment. It needs the Rive treatment.
yeah, I don't know. I think instead of just seeing this weapon just turbo buff to the craziness, like for example the new sword, I would rather see just like, I mean, melee just
game
needs help
around
in
it
general.
to like
You know,
mold
200,
around it.
200 gameplay in general. I mean, unless you're forced to use a 200 weapon, who's playing with a 200 weapon? You know, unless your build forces you to, or you're playing a staff and still using, guess what, Titan Heart, which is meant for melees, but is
Titan
mainly
Heart
used by
staff builds.
casters.
We've been talking about Sentinels a lot recently, and one thing that comes up, like I've got people in my own Twitch chat who really like using spears and like using them with, you know, Rive and stuff. And it's like, well, you have sword and axe, which at the top of the Sentinel base tree you get attack speed, and then you have mace and scepter, I believe, give you like % increased damage. It's like 10 points you can sink into that. But like you've got this army guy, the Sentinel, you know, fighting in Raye's army. He's the weapon specialist, but he just doesn't use spears. He has no support for spears, and like the closest thing to a spear build, like you've already mentioned, is Holy Trail Javelin.
Falconer is coming, guys. Don't worry.
Maybe man, I can't wait to talk about Falconer. We're gonna have like multiple podcasts about it. But like Falconer is gonna have cold damage. It's gonna have intelligence. You think it's gonna have spear synergy?
I mean,
give me the hot take. I want to hear it.
Hope so. Otherwise, like, I don't know. I kind of imagine like a poacher kind of guy going in, kind of like Quinn from League of Legends goes in.
Spear, Cinder Strike, so that you have bigger range. You can keep up your oil coating stacks on melee characters. I mean, okay. Now we're cooking.
Spear Puncture would have been interesting if like the range.
Dave, let me tell you something. You know, you can kind of predict what his intention. Maybe I'm completely off, but you look at the animation of something like Puncture with a polearm. And you take a look at the animation with Puncture with, for example, an axe, and you can tell someone worked on the polearm, nobody worked on the axe. Well, they didn't put as much work, basically.
I mean, I'll be honest, all I ever see is this because it's
you know, the polearm animation is actually, it's like Spartan, like someone actually did take the time to make like
all the spear animations across the classes. Like spears don't really have a home right now, but the animations look so good. Have you used a spear on the Primalist? His like little lunge forward. It looks like someone spent a lot of work on that.
Cool.
No, the animations like this. Remember?
No,
it's like
get out of here.
Like the bug. Remember?
T posing with Serpent Strike when you're not using a spear. Sure.
I mean, and I really just to mention something that you said, Perry, like the range thing, right? Like, how is that not a thing already in last Epoch? Like in my opinion, I've been PMing the devs about this for like 2 years. But how is range not affect every melee attack? So because right now the only thing that it matters when you use a weapon type is do I have a passive that requires a weapon type? Then insta choice for you. You don't really have a choice.
And what is the best attack?
I'm playing Sentinel. I guess I'm using a sword. That's it, right?
And how much base crit do I need?
Yeah, and does it have base crit? Right, pretty much. Like, imagine if you could be like, oh, I don't have crit, but it comes with this longer range, and suddenly I don't need area on my tree, so I can get more damage. And like, and again, it would be so easy to do. They have area stat in the game My Shadow Strike, you're dual wielding. It's just a bit tinier by default.
Mhm.
And again, if they don't want a game to get too crazy, they could just set up limits, and min-maxing would be about how do you hit the cap, combining area on gloves, area on amulet, base type, and skill tree. And it would be maybe you do it. You like maces because you have a really good mace, so that means you have to get tier 5 on your gloves. But I'm using a polearm, so I only need tier 1 seal to reach maximum. I don't know. Things like that is obviously not for 1.0, but I would really. I mean, this is already in the game for things like, again, multi-strike, mana strike, very, very few strike abilities.
Vengeance,
But
yeah, done. That's
Vengeance,
about it.
that is skill. We don't talk about this when I'm on. I made you sign this and you
Actually,
broke it
on
again.
the list of uniques we're going to talk about, Renegade's Will's on there, but I told Perry
We
to take
removed
it.
it. We took Renegade's Will off
to
the
prevent
list.
your PTSD. Yes.
All right,
but
so
yeah.
do we have an answer? I guess the answer for Trident of the Last Abyss is like the item itself is pretty good.
And
we
make it
talked
so
about
the Abyssal Echoes is on hit too.
maybe on hit against rare unique enemies, and maybe just like the supporting staff or like the supporting cast of skills and archetypes and synergies across the rest of the game. We don't really have a home for spears right now. It'd be nice if there was some kind of home somewhere.
Especially
So
Yeah, also the best weapons too. Like spear is just fucking badass.
they look so cool.
They're so phallic and so long, and it's great. Yeah.
All right.
So we're gonna touch on one more thing before we wrap up the podcast here, and that is I guess we talked about fixing unique items. We went through Azrael's Fury, Shadow Beacon, and Trident. Let's go backward to it's kind of like a ladder conversation, but it's to a poll.
To talk about this.
It's a poll that Dread ran on his YouTube channel.
Let me explain, right?
So we were talking about this. You ran away with it. You talk about it.
So me and Perry were having a nice conversation. We were talking about so one of the things that stood out to me specifically with the ladder post was the fact that they were going to make the builds private and maybe change it later, but specifically keep them private. So all you can see is their skills. That's all you can see. You can't like click on them to look at their gear, look at what skill points they're taking, stuff like that. Kind of like an API, kind of like Pee-wee Ninja, for instance.
Well,
right?
they need an API for that.
Well,
I don't think they have one. So
and
end of the story.
Now, of course, they said they don't know how they feel about keeping it private or public, but they're leaning towards private. And me and Perry had a conversation, and some like it's very rare for Perry and I to disagree on something this big, right? Well, this much, right? So we had a poll. I was curious. I made a poll on YouTube. Now, before I post this poll, Lizard, what do you think most people would want? Private or public?
Like it is on many games, optional.
Optional?
Well, you can hide your profile, and you can show your profile. Like I personally don't really give a shit because hopefully most people are looking at me. Otherwise, it means I'm completely washed up, you know. That's what I tell myself, and then I'll cry when I see glaciers at 3,000 waves, and people are asking me why my builds suck.
So you had just shy of 1,000 votes on this poll, and you had maybe 7-1, 8-1, in favor of a public ladder instead of a private ladder. So like when someone pushes to 1,000 waves, you can click on the build and see exactly what they're doing.
Yep. Now, what are your guys' opinions on that? I know your opinion, Perry. So what's your opinion on that, Wizard?
I mean, I'll probably have mine open because I just think I don't have nothing to hide. I'm not scared, right? I think it's interesting. I think especially the game being so young, like sharing and being surprised by other people, I think it's part of the enjoyment, kind of. Like it's kind of fun when it's been kind of shit on single player because you watch this guy, he's on 3,000 waves, and like, is this guy a genius who break the meta, or is this just another cheater?
And, it's hard to believe anyone past 800 waves, especially if they don't know their name.
I didn't even look at it, right? And I'm sure there's some guys there who maybe did something crazy, right? But I don't know. I mean, it's also it's a there's pros and cons, right? Because then if everything is public, then we go into this meta thing that it's gonna happen eventually, but maybe slowing it down a bit, it maybe be good just for this infancy of the game to be as long as it needs to be. because eventually everyone's gonna min max, and right now, I always talk about this on my stream, but right now, if you're getting to empowered in 9 hours, it's considered normal. But there's people getting there in 5 hours, and I think like in a year's time, if you're not getting into empowered in 6, you're gonna be called a noob, pretty much. Right? Like the game is just gonna get. It's just people right now don't really have anything to compare themselves with, and that's why you see on Reddit, you see all these people going like, "Look at this item I made. Look at this build that I made. I'm having fun at 200 corruption." Well, they have no idea. They don't know what POP. They don't have tools. The Reddit is all full of noobs. Like they're just having fun. But the same guy playing a different game goes like, "What the fuck? You're not doing 50 million." It's the same dude. I say, "I'm having so much fun in Last Epoch. Everything's viable." What compared to what? Raids? If you used to complain about Seismic Trap and you're not complaining about raids, you're just knowledgeable in one game and you're not knowledgeable in the other. It's the same issue, right? So yeah,
So
I mean,
I would be in favor of having an optional to have it private as well. Like I don't know about all private, but there's a big caveat of what I would like to introduce. And I messaged Odd Dev about this, so maybe I can float the idea by somebody with the podcast as well. So currently the ladder shows you which skills they have on their bar, not which skills they have spec'd. And also, when you die, before you leave, you could just like toggle your skills to a bunch of nonsense and then just leave. And then like that's going to be the snapshot of what your character was. So like I'd used Maelstrom 5 times. I'm hiding my build. That's garbage. So what I would like to see, and hopefully this doesn't get in the way of some arena strat, but what I'd like to see is, first of all, the ladder would show you which 5 skills are spec'd, because I think that would be enough information, just kind of tease what the person is doing. And then also, a pop-up at the beginning or something that says, you cannot respec or rebind your skills. Like no respecing in the arena. You got to keep it exactly like this for the whole time. Are you prepared to go? So I don't need perfect information about what someone's build is. Like if they have insane gear, awesome. They'll make a Reddit post about it a month from now or something. But I would like to see what 5 skills they're using, because I can kind of piece things together.
That pop-out not only tells you can respect, it also tells you that logout is disabled. Are you sure you want to go in?
Yeah, I think I actually changed my opinion on this since we talked about this, Perry.
Ooh, go on.
My opinion on it, I think a compromise, I would just like to be able to just click on the skill. It would show the 5 specialized skills, not the one on the bar, right? I wish I could just click on the skills and see what they have. I think that would be fine. I don't get to see their gear. I don't get to see their passives. I get to see their skill set. I get to see what they're skilling, right?
What they're spec'd into?
Yeah, that's it. And it would fit in the API that they currently show, because you just go and click on the button and it shows it and pops it up. I would be happy with that, I think.
Just show me the 5 skills they're spec'd into. I don't care what's on their bar. Get out of here.
If they make an API, it would be great, right? But
done. Yeah, absolutely.
No. If I clicked on the skill, it would show me what they have spec'd inside the skill.
I hear you. I'm just saying I don't even need that much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's. I think eventually it's gonna happen, right? With third-party websites and things like that. But eventually it's gonna happen. But hopefully it's not too early. I think we have time to go through all the stages of, because I think that the stage of discovery and the stage of mystery is also kind of like, it's very hard to get also nowadays, right?
Yeah, so I agree with you. It reminds me of like the old days of like the early internet, like not having perfect information.
Yeah,
okay, it's not gonna last long, but
my problem with it is if we don't have public ladders, a lot of the ways that we used to run the vision tourneys wouldn't really work. If that makes sense. Like,
yeah, but I mean, if it's
I don't know
optional,
what you mean.
right? I think it should definitely be optional.
Yeah, if it was optional, I'd be fine with that too. Because like, I wouldn't like, some of my favorite times in LE were specifically when we had vision tournaments where we banned a skill that we knew that was overpowered, like Wraiths, for instance, right? Like when we banned Wraiths or something. Those are the most interesting times, because that's like when people actually, innovated on things, at least more than usual, right? Like, I don't know about you, Lizard, but that was like when I had the most fun, because you could actually do something.
I mean, it's just,
and if you have a private one, that wouldn't work at all.
I honestly also think, like, I mean, eventually people are just gonna figure out what's good, And a meta is going to happen in the arena, especially if the disbalances between classes are as they are today.
Mhm.
I mean, I think I think having a arena somehow balanced, where obviously there's always going to be something slightly better, but having a play, I think that is possible. A lot of people think, oh, it's impossible to balance. That's not true. I don't think that's true at all. But yeah, at the moment, I think optional would be just the best way to
Yeah,
go about it.
I'd be
If
fine
people
with
want to
optional
share,
too.
share. If no, and then people, we also gonna take a look at Last Epoch as a pretty unique game because yeah, while other games have like ladders like PoE, and people are talking about PoE in the chat and stuff, and PoE doesn't really have like a long-term ladder system. It's more about the racing and stuff, right? It's more about
Yeah.
who does things first, and after that, there's not really anything else. And I think Last Epoch is doing this other thing where ideally, I think in Last Epoch, the last week of the season and the first week of the season should be as exciting, right? Yeah, I guess there's Selving too, but
Oh, something that
uh,
wasn't very apparent earlier when we were having a conversation about the packs,
yeah, but
like the
it's
packs.
very
Oh, I'm
niche.
sorry. I meant the packs, like the packs you buy, like the supporter packs. If you buy the $50 one, you get access to all the ones before it. By the way, I didn't know
Oh,
if you
okay,
knew that.
okay.
Yeah, so like if you buy the $50 one, you get all the
Oh,
ones
okay, that's
before as well.
okay. That changes
Yeah, like the
actually quite
PoE
a
one.
bit.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good
I
to know.
forgot to mention that. But
I
yeah,
mean,
that
I
yeah,
thought it was one wings for $50, but you're actually getting
yeah.
everything. Okay, okay, okay.
No,
That
so
actually
what
changes.
happens is
Still
you get less
expensive though.
epic points technically, if that makes sense. But like, obviously it's whatever. But
Cool.
yeah, my thing with the ladder thing is like I just want the community ran events that we had. I really enjoyed those. Like those were
It's funny,
fun,
we've
right?
had the
Like
conversation about the public-private ladder. We also haven't talked about the lack of character found solo
I mean, yeah.
and not having character found solo
I
anymore.
actually
Kind of
I
put the
actually
hamper on
DM'd
things.
the developer about that and we had a
Yeah.
conversation about it. So hopefully we get it. Fingers
This is
crossed.
also a very strange time though, because technically, like when the moment this is until 1.0, we're in a situation where people are gonna be able to push their pre-done characters.
Mm-hmm.
But after cycles, when people have to make a cycle, basically your first character is gonna be character found, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna alleviate things quite a bit. Because
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not
But that is
knowledgeable on
like a
this.
3-month cycle, though. I was talking about the weekend tourneys we were holding and stuff like that. Those were the
Yeah, I
fun
mean, but
ones.
hopefully, I mean, I think they've said they're planning on an event mode, right? Eventually, that's gonna come, like
Yeah.
Would
where
be
you can
excellent
just
if we had
make a
access to that
private
kind of
league,
thing.
pretty much.
Yeah, I would be
Uh-huh.
fine with that too. I actually talked about that. I'd be fine with that too, paying $5 or whatever it takes to make a private league for people and they can start fresh. I would be fine with that too if it costs epic
No,
points.
I think again, it's also I think at this current stage of the game, I think it's
Yeah.
very important because they need the most, especially if they want to actually attempt to balance the game with which I think they should, because a balanced
Hmm.
game offers more choice, right? And choice
Yeah.
makes you more engaged. I think they need to try to keep as players as grouped as possible, so the sample of data they're pulling from is
Yeah.
the most valuable. Like I also hear the depths about this, like, oh, we're gonna have ladders for this and ladders for that and for like that. Dude, if you have a game that you have 10 people playing and you have 10 ladders and each one of them is on one ladder, there's no ladder. Okay, stop with this fucking let's have ladders for everything bullshit. Like, how can you even talk about having a corruption ladder with how corruption works right now? And anyone in the chat who thinks, I think corruption ladder sounds awesome, you have never played
It
corruption
sounds
in your life.
terrible.
You
It's
have never done
terrible.
it.
It's
Otherwise, you would want to kill yourself. Oh, sorry. You would
mm,
want to completely erase your brain. It's so bad. It would be complete
uninstall the
fishing
game.
for
That's a
no
better way of
mods,
putting it.
We're
fishing
just
for a poison shade. Like, it would be so bad. It would be
we're
so
gonna call this
unfun.
episode not safe for
Yeah.
work with Lizard
I
underscore IRL.
apologize.
It's okay. I got you. I got you.
Long
All
day.
right,
Yeah,
so
we should let you off the hook here, though.
we are over an hour and a half. We have a lot of good topics that we've covered here. Before we wrap up this 29th episode of the podcast here, Dread Lizard, is there anything else you'd like to sneak in at the very end of this here?
It's character
Um,
feedback.
What was that?
I said give us character found back.
Oh, gotcha. What a microphone.
I mean, hopefully the game is not as rushed as I think it's being rushed. Hopefully, after their marketing goals and their strategy has been completed their goals, they slow down for a bit and they actually spend some time on some polish. I don't think we need more systems. I don't think we need more content. We need the content that we have to be good. I hate seeing so many people. We need more content. Where's more endgame? What the, like? I mean,
Well, when I say that, I
know.
mean like the current monolith get boosted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't.
That's
I
what
was
I mean
just
by
talking in
that.
general.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like
I've said that a lot. That's why.
I really wish the devs go like, okay, this new system, whoever worked on it, the Weaver thing, is probably it's probably his job to come up with these things, and it's unrelated to balance, whatever. I don't care, right? But I really wish they before they stop pulling more stuff into the stuff, we gotta tidy up the house before we get into the Diogenes situation where it's just too late to organize. So yeah, I would like a patch where we slow down, we sit down, we gather data from the ladder that it's going to be a mess, and you actually see that everything we've been warning you for 2 years, it's true. We're not delusional. We know what we're talking about. We play the game more than you do. So yeah, it's not an ego thing. It's just a fact thing. So I just want the game to be the best possible. And to be honest, I'm actually kind of sad about Friday because it's just gonna be so sad when some fucking bug is there and everyone just like loses interest because who cares? People are just doing this thing and yeah. So I'm a bit
They want the
emotional about it.
25th to be a Diablo 4 waiting room. That's one of their stated goals for why they're releasing it when they are. I hope it works.
We didn't need ladder for that. That's what
Actually, the last thing I want to bring up is, you know how we call like legendary items with LP? Are we gonna like call Weaver's Will stuff Will P?
And that's the 29th episode of Epic Epoch. Thank you so much for being here, everyone who's here live right now. If you're watching on YouTube and Spotify, thanks as well. Lizard, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that right there. And Dread, thank you for sharing your evening with us as well. I appreciate it, gentlemen. I'll see you next time, all right? And chat, thank you for being here. We will see you next time. Have a good night.